As the screen fades in, the camera pans across the shimmering Hudson River at dusk, the New York City skyline glowing in the distance. The faint hum of a helicopter grows louder, then turns into a gut-wrenching screech. Suddenly, a fiery streak plummets from the sky, crashing into the water with a deafening roar. Debris scatters across the river's surface, illuminated by the flashing lights of rescue boats racing toward the wreckage. A somber piano melody begins, slow and mournful, tugging at the heart. A narrator's voice, warm yet heavy with grief, breaks the silence. On August 15, 2024, a helicopter carrying 6 souls fell from the heavens above New York. Among them was Agustin Escobar, a man who built a legacy of kindness, his beloved wife Elena, and their little girl Sophia, just 8 years old, with a smile that could light up Times Square. The screen cuts to a fleeting image of a family photo, Agustin's arm around Elena, Sophia giggling between them, their faces radiant with love. They were on a birthday surprise flight, a moment meant for joy, until it became a tragedy that shook our city. The music swells and the camera lingers on a single child's shoe floating amid the wreckage, a heartbreaking reminder of loss. The narrator's voice trembles slightly. 6 lives gone in an instant. But what if I told you this wasn't just a mechanical failure? What if someone tried to stop this disaster, and no one listened? The screen flashes to a close-up of a handwritten note, scribbled with urgency. Hydraulic system unstable. Do not fly. The note is crumpled, tossed aside. Why was this warning ignored? The narrator asks, voice rising with quiet outrage. Was it arrogance, neglect, or something far uglier? A prejudice that runs deeper than we want to admit? The camera pulls back to show the Statue of Liberty in the distance, a silent witness to the tragedy. Tonight, we uncover the truth behind this heartbreak, a story of family, betrayal, and a lesson we can't afford to forget. Because sometimes the cost of turning away from one voice is more than lives. It's our humanity. The screen fades to black, with white text appearing, based on real stories of overlooked warnings in aviation. A soft chime sounds and the narrator whispers, "What really happened that day?" Stay with us to find out. The screen fades into a bustling New York street, the Empire State Building looming proudly in the background. A gentle acoustic guitar strums, warm and nostalgic, as the camera zooms to a charity event banner. Escobar Foundation, Building Dreams. The narrator's voice, rich with admiration, begins. Agustin Escobar, 45, was a man who turned dreams into reality. A Colombian-American who rose from nothing, he built a business empire and gave back tenfold. The camera cuts to Agustin at the event, laughing as he hands a scholarship check to a teary-eyed student. But his real pride was his family. A home video clip shows Agustin pushing his daughter Sophia, 8 years old, on a swing in Central Park, her giggles echoing. His wife Elena, radiant at 42, kisses his cheek. This helicopter ride was his gift for Elena's birthday, a moment to soar above the city they loved, 3,000 feet in the sky. The music shifts to a quieter, somber note as the scene changes to a dimly lit hangar at dusk, the air heavy with grease and steel. Marcus Allen, 38, carried dreams of his own, the narrator says softly. The camera follows Marcus, a black technician, as he runs his hands over a helicopter's hydraulic system, his toolbox worn from 15 years of labor. A single dad, Marcus worked late nights at Sky Vista Aviation to save for his son's college, hoping to give him the life he never had. A photo flashes, Marcus and his 10-year-old son, Jamal, grinning at a Yankees game. He was brilliant, but too often his voice was drowned out by those who saw his skin before his skill. The tone hardens slightly as the camera pans to a cockpit, sunlight glinting off polished controls. James Kendrick, 50, was the pilot who held their lives in his hands. A montage shows James, square-jawed and confident, pinning a military medal to his chest years ago. A decorated veteran, he flew choppers through storms and war zones, but pride had hardened him. A fleeting scene, James dismissing a colleague with a curt wave, his eyes cold. At 6 feet tall and sure of himself, He trusted his gut over anyone else, especially someone like Marcus. The screen lingers on the helicopter, its blades still, as the narrator's voice drops. 3 lives, 1 fateful flight. They didn't know it yet, but their choices were about to collide. Forever. The music fades, leaving a heartbeat-like drum, pulling viewers deeper. The screen opens inside a cavernous hangar at Skyvista Aviation, the Hudson River glinting through a distant window under a gray dawn sky. The air hums with the clank of tools and the low rumble of a helicopter engine being tested. A single fluorescent bulb flickers above Marcus Allen, his face etched with focus as he kneels beside the aircraft, a wrench in hand. The narrator's voice, warm yet tinged with urgency, begins. Marcus Allen wasn't just a technician. He was the kind of man who'd check a bolt twice to keep folks safe 3,000 feet in the air. The camera zooms to his ear, catching a faint, unnatural whir from the helicopter's hydraulic system, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. Marcus freezes, his breath catching. That morning, August 14, 2024, he heard something no one else did, a warning. The music shifts to a tense violin hum as Marcus scribbles in a worn logbook. Hydraulic system unstable, vibration at 120 RPM. His hands tremble slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of knowing lives depend on him. The narrator continues, voice heavy. Marcus had seen too many corners cut at Skyvista, a company more worried about profits than people. At 38, he'd learned the hard way that his word carried less weight than others, not because of skill, but because of the color of his skin. A flashback flickers, a younger Marcus, ignored by a smirking supervisor, his report tossed into a drawer. Cut to Marcus at a cluttered desk, typing an email to Linda Voss, Skyvista's manager. The screen shows his words, urgent, helicopter N472 needs hydraulic check before flight, risk of failure. The narrator's tone sharpens. He sent it with hope, the kind of hope you carry after years of being brushed aside, praying this time someone would listen. A beat later, Linda's reply pings back, curt and cold. Routine noise, cleared for flight. The camera lingers on Marcus's face. Disappointment, but no surprise, as if he's felt this sting before. The scene shifts to the hangar's break room, coffee cups scattered on a table, the air thick with tension. Marcus approaches James Kendrick, the pilot, who's polishing his aviator sunglasses, standing tall at 6 feet. James, Marcus says, voice steady, I heard a vibration in the hydraulics. It's not safe to fly. James barely looks up, chuckling dismissively. I've flown choppers through worse than a little hum, Marcus. Stick to your tools, I'll handle the skies. The narrator's voice drops, almost a whisper. It wasn't just pride. It was something deeper, uglier, a wall Marcus couldn't break through. As James walks away, the camera follows Marcus, alone now, staring at the helicopter under the hangar's stark lights. A quiet memory flashes. His son Jamal, 10, asking, Dad, why do you work so hard if they don't listen? Marcus's eyes glisten, but he clenches his jaw. The narrator's voice cracks with emotion. He could have walked away, but Marcus stayed, hoping one last try might save a family he'd never meet. The screen cuts to a close-up of the logbook, Marcus's warning underlined in red, as a low drumbeat pulses. Tomorrow that helicopter would fly, with Agustin, Elena, and little Sophia on board. The screen fades into a golden afternoon over New York City, the Statue of Liberty gleaming in the distance, a symbol of dreams just beyond reach. The camera pans to a heliport along the Hudson River, where the Skyvista helicopter, its blades glinting, waits under a cloudless sky. A soft acoustic guitar plays, tender and full of promise, as the Escobar family steps onto the tarmac. Agustin Escobar, 45, adjusts his tie, a nervous smile breaking through his usual confidence. Beside him, Elena, 42, smooths her sundress, her eyes sparkling with anticipation for her birthday surprise. Their daughter Sophia, 8, clutches a stuffed bunny, her pigtails bouncing as she skips forward, squealing, Daddy, are we really gonna fly like birds? Agustin kneels, brushing a curl from her face. Higher than birds, sweetheart. 5,000 feet up, where the whole world's yours. The narrator's voice, warm and reverent, chimes in. For Agustin, this wasn't just a flight. It was a moment to give his family the stars, a memory to hold forever in their hearts. The camera shifts to Marcus Allen, standing 50 feet away by the hangar's edge, his toolbox at his feet. His face is a map of worry, eyes locked on the helicopter he begged to ground. The narrator's tone grows heavy. Marcus had done all he could, written the report, sent the email, faced the pilot. Now he could only watch, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. Sophia spots him and waves, her tiny hand a flicker of light in his darkness. Marcus forces a smile, waving back, but his gaze darts to the hydraulic system, hidden beneath the chopper's sleek shell. A memory flashes, his son Jamal asking, "Dad, you keep people safe, right?" The weight of that promise presses on him now, heavier than the 2-ton machine before him. The scene cuts to the family boarding, Sophia clutching Elena's hand as they settle into leather seats. Agustin buckles Sophia's belt, whispering, "You're my brave girl." Elena leans into him, her voice soft. "You always make life feel like magic, Gus." The camera pulls back as the blades begin to spin, kicking up dust in a roaring whirl. The narrator says, "At 4:37 p.m. on August 15th, 2024, they lifted off, chasing the horizon over a city that never stops dreaming." The screen fills with a breathtaking view. Manhattan's skyscrapers shrinking below, the Hudson River a silver ribbon 1 mile wide, sunlight dancing on its waves. Sophia presses her nose to the window, gasping, "Look, Mommy, it's like a fairy tale." The music swells, a hopeful violin weaving through the engine's hum, carrying the family's joy. Inside the cockpit, James Kendrick, 50, grips the controls, his jaw set. The narrator's voice darkens. James had flown 1,000 missions, dodged storms and bullets. A little vibration, nothing he couldn't handle. The camera catches a faint tremor in the joystick, a subtle clunk beneath the roar. James glances at the gauges, muttering, "Just turbulence." The music shifts, the violin turning sharp, discordant. In the cabin, Sophia's laughter falters as the chopper sways, a glass of water trembling on the armrest. Elena's smile fades, her hand tightening around Agustin's. "It's fine," he assures her, but his eyes flicker with doubt. The narrator whispers, "They didn't know it yet, but the machine they trusted was betraying them, inch by inch." The camera zooms to the hydraulic system, a schematic overlay showing a crack widening under pressure. A low, ominous rumble grows, drowning out the music. Sophia whimpers, "Daddy, why is it shaking?" Agustin pulls her close, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "Just a bumpy ride, baby. We're okay." Elena's lips move in a silent prayer, her rosary beads glinting in her hand. In the cockpit, James's confidence cracks. Sweat beads on his brow as the controls fight back. "Come on, hold together," he growls, but the rumble becomes a scream. The narrator's voice breaks. 22 minutes into the flight, 12 miles from shore, the warning Marcus feared became real. The screen erupts into chaos. The helicopter lurches, spinning wildly. Sophia's bunny falls to the floor. Elena's scream pierces the air. Agustin's arms wrap around them both, a desperate shield. The camera cuts to the cockpit, James wrestling the stick as alarms blare. Outside, the horizon tilts, the river rushing closer. 1,000 feet, 500, 200. The narrator's voice chokes. They had no time to say goodbye. The chopper slams into the Hudson, a deafening crash swallowing all sound. Water surges over the wreckage, the screen fading to black. Silence lingers, broken only by a distant siren. The camera pans to Marcus, still at the heliport, frozen as rescue boats race across the river 2 miles away. His knees buckle, and he sinks to the ground, whispering, "I tried. God, I tried." The narrator's voice, raw with grief, closes. In an instant, a family was gone, but the truth of why they fell was still out there, waiting to be heard. The screen holds on a single ripple in the water, a heartbeat fading away. The screen fades into the Hudson River at twilight. its surface still rippling where the helicopter sank, now 2 miles from Manhattan's glowing skyline. Red and blue lights pulse from rescue boats, their engines growling as divers plunge into the chilly 60-degree water. A mournful cello hum begins, slow and heavy, wrapping the scene in sorrow. The camera pans to a Coast Guard officer pulling a soaked teddy bear from the wreckage. Sophia's bunny, its white fur stained gray. The narrator's voice, thick with grief, speaks softly. August 15th, 2024, ended with a silence louder than any crash. 6 lives vanished into the Hudson: Agustin Escobar, Elena, their little Sophia, James Kendrick, and 2 crew members. No one came back alive. The scene shifts to a news broadcast, a somber anchor in a dimly lit studio. Her voice cracks. Tonight, New York mourns a tragedy. The Escobar family, known for their generosity, was lost in a helicopter crash just 12 miles from shore. The screen flashes to a photo of Agustin, Elena, and Sophia at a charity gala, their smiles frozen in time. The narrator continues, voice trembling. Agustin, 45, built schools for kids who had nothing. Elena, 42, baked cookies for neighbors on Sundays. Sophia, only 8, dreamed of being a veterinarian to save every stray in Brooklyn. The camera lingers on a close-up of Sophia's face, her eyes bright with wonder, as if she's still here. They were more than names on a news ticker. They were family, friends, the heart of a community. Cut to Lower Manhattan, where a makeshift memorial grows along the riverbank, 500 feet from the crash site. Candles flicker in the dusk, their flames dancing on photos of the Escobars. An elderly woman, her hands trembling, lays a rose beside a child's drawing labeled Sophia. A man in a suit, Agustin's business partner, wipes tears, whispering, "You gave us so much, Gus." The narrator's tone grows intimate, like a friend sharing a loss. For older folks like us who've seen too many goodbyes, this cut deeper. It wasn't just a crash. It was a theft of love, of tomorrow. The music swells, the cello joined by a soft piano, carrying the weight of collective grief. The camera pulls back to a quiet Brooklyn street, where Marcus Allen sits on his stoop, his work boots still dusty from the hangar. The glow of a TV spills through his window, replaying the news. No survivors. Marcus clutches a baseball cap, Jamal's, his 10-year-old son's, his knuckles tight. The narrator's voice softens. Marcus, 38, carried the heaviest burden. He'd warned them, begged them, but the helicopter flew anyway. A memory flashes. Sophia's wave from the heliport, her tiny hand trusting the world. Marcus's eyes glisten, and he murmurs, "I should have done more. For her, for them all." The camera catches a tear falling, slow and heavy, as the cello dips to a single aching note. The scene shifts to a dimly lit diner, where Marcus sits alone, a coffee mug untouched. A woman approaches, Sarah Nguyen, 35, a reporter with kind eyes and a notepad. She slides into the booth, voice gentle. "Mr. Allen, I'm looking into Sky Vista. I heard you tried to stop that flight. Will you talk to me?" Marcus hesitates, his fingers tracing the mug's rim, then nods faintly. The narrator's voice rises, a spark of hope breaking through. The city wept, but the truth was still out there, buried in papers and pride. Marcus didn't know it yet, but his fight wasn't over. The screen fades to the memorial, a candle's flame holding steady against the night. As the music lingers, soft but unbroken. The screen fades into a cold, fluorescent-lit conference room at LaGuardia Airport, 8 miles from the Hudson River crash site. Papers and coffee cups clutter a long table, where investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, pore over charts. A digital clock ticks past midnight, its red numbers glowing like a warning. A low, pulsing drumbeat underscores the scene, tense yet restrained, as the camera pans to a black box, dented, waterlogged, but holding answers. The narrator's voice, steady but laced with hope, begins. Days after the tragedy that stole Agustin, Elena, and little Sophia Escobar, the search for truth started here, in a room heavy with questions. For New Yorkers, especially those of us who've seen too many losses, this wasn't just an investigation. It was a fight to honor the fallen. The scene shifts to Marcus Allen, sitting alone in his Brooklyn apartment, the TV muted on a news loop of the crash memorial. Now 1,000 feet of candles and flowers along the riverbank. His hands grip a worn photo of his son, Jamal, 10, smiling at Coney Island. The narrator's tone softens, intimate. Marcus, 38, wanted to stay silent. He'd warned Sky Vista about that helicopter's hydraulics, begged them to listen, and now 6 souls were gone. The guilt was heavier than the 2-ton chopper he couldn't stop. A knock at the door startles him. It's Sarah Nguyen, the reporter, her notepad tucked under her arm. "Mr. Allen," she says gently, "the NTSB needs you. Your report, it's the key." Marcus hesitates, his eyes tracing Jamal's photo. The narrator adds, voice cracking. For Marcus, speaking up meant risking everything. His job, his safety. But Sophia's wave at the heliport haunted him, a promise he couldn't break. Cut to the NTSB room, where Marcus sits across from a gray-haired investigator, Ellen Carter, her face kind but stern. She slides his crumpled logbook toward him, the red-inked warning. Hydraulic system unstable. Stark against the page. "You wrote this 2 days before the crash," she says. Marcus nods, voice low. "I told Linda Voss. I told James Kendrick. They said it was nothing." The narrator's tone hardens. Marcus wasn't just a witness. He was proof of a truth Sky Vista wanted buried. The camera flashes to Sarah, digging through a box of old Sky Vista files in a dusty storage unit, 3 miles from the airport. She pulls out a faded report from 2022. Another hydraulic issue, ignored, signed off by Linda Voss herself. Sarah's eyes widen, whispering, "They knew." The scene shifts to a high-tech NTSB lab, where the black box crackles through speakers. A technician plays the flight's final moments. James's voice strained. "Damn it, it's shaking bad!" Followed by Sophia's scream, piercing and brief. The room falls silent, Ellen wiping a tear. The narrator's voice trembles. That sound broke hearts across the table, a reminder of the family we lost. Sophia, who'd never pet another stray. Elena, who'd never bake another cookie. Agustine, who'd never hug them again. A schematic appears, showing a hydraulic valve fracturing, matching Marcus's warning. Ellen looks at Marcus resolute. "You were right. This could have been stopped." But tension surges as the camera cuts to Sky Vista's sleek Manhattan office, 10 stories above the city. Linda Voss, 55, paces behind glass walls, her phone pressed to her ear. "Handle it," she snaps, her voice icy. The narrator reveals, Linda wasn't just negligent, she was desperate. Sky Vista's profits hinged on that chopper flying, no matter the cost. A flashback shows Linda shredding a memo about repair costs, her hands steady as she buries the truth. Back at the NTSB, Marcus faces a new blow. A Sky Vista lawyer, slick in a suit, accuses him of falsifying his report to dodge blame. "You check that chopper, Allen," the lawyer sneers. "This is on you." Marcus's fists clench, his voice breaking. "I begged them to listen." "You know I did." The camera lingers on Marcus, leaving the room, head bowed under the weight of doubt. Sarah catches up, her voice fierce. "They're lying, Marcus. I found proof. Linda's done this before." The narrator's tone lifts, a spark of defiance. For seniors like us who fought for what's right, Marcus's battle felt personal. He was one man against a machine, not just of metal, but of greed and pride. The screen cuts to the Hudson at dawn, a single candle still burning at the memorial. The truth was rising, slow but sure, like the sun over New York. But would it be enough to bring justice? The music fades to a hopeful violin note, pulling viewers forward. The screen opens on a crisp morning in Lower Manhattan, the Hudson River sparkling 2 miles away, its calm surface hiding the scars of tragedy. The camera pans to a federal building's steps where reporters swarm, their camera flashes popping like firecrackers. A banner reads, NTSB Press Conference, Sky Vista Crash Findings. A determined cello melody rises, steady and unyielding as the narrator's voice, firm yet warm, begins. 3 weeks after the helicopter crash that tore Agustine, Elena, and little Sofia Escobar from this world, the truth stood ready to speak. For folks like us, who've waited too long for justice in our lives, this moment felt like a reckoning, not just for a family, but for every voice ignored. Inside, Ellen Carter, the NTSB investigator, stands at a podium, her gray hair catching the light. Behind her, a screen displays the helicopter's hydraulic system, a red circle highlighting a fractured valve. She speaks clearly. The crash on August 15, 2024, was caused by a catastrophic failure in the hydraulic system, exactly as Marcus Allen warned 2 days prior. The camera cuts to Marcus, seated in the back, his hands clasped tightly, eyes fixed on the floor. The narrator's voice cracks with pride. Marcus, 38, had carried that warning like a 50-pound weight, through Sky Vista's dismissal, through accusations, through nights wondering if Sofia's smile could have been saved. Ellen continues, her voice sharp. Sky Vista Aviation received Marcus's report and email, logged 48 hours before the flight, but deemed it low priority. Pilot James Kendrick was informed and chose to fly. A murmur ripples through the room. The screen flashes to Sarah Nguyen's evidence, a 2022 Sky Vista memo uncovered in a storage unit 3 miles from LaGuardia, detailing a similar hydraulic issue swept under the rug by Linda Voss. The narrator's tone turns fierce. This wasn't a mistake, it was a pattern. Linda, 55, Sky Vista's manager, had buried warnings before, choosing dollars over lives protected by executives 40 stories above New York streets. The camera shifts to a tense flashback. Linda in her glass-walled office, shredding papers, her face unreadable as she mutters, "No delays, no repairs." Back at the conference, Ellen drops a bombshell. Our review found James Kendrick dismissed multiple technicians' concerns over his 20-year career, most often those who weren't white. The room gasps, and Marcus's head lifts, his eyes glistening with vindication and pain. The narrator speaks softly, like a confidant. For seniors who felt unseen, unheard, Marcus's fight was ours. He wasn't just exposing a company, he was facing a shadow we all know, one that judges before it listens. Cut to Sarah and Marcus outside, the city humming behind them. Sarah grips her notepad, voice urgent. Linda's been dodging regulators for years, Marcus. That 2022 cover-up? It cost a pilot's career, but no one died, until now. Marcus stares at the river, his voice raw. I kept thinking about Sofia's wave, how she trusted us. I told them it wasn't safe, and it's still not enough. The narrator's voice trembles. His words carried the weight of 6 lost lives, Augustine's dreams, Elena's warmth, Sofia's future, all stolen by a system that heard but refused to listen. The scene shifts to Union Square, 4 miles away, where a crowd gathers, holding signs, "Justice for the Escobars." An elderly man, his voice shaking, tells a news crew, "My grandson loves Sofia's dad." This ain't right. The camera catches a young girl placing a stuffed bunny at a vigil, a twin to Sofia's. The narrator's tone lifts, resolute. New York didn't just mourn, it roared. The truth was out, and it burned brighter than Sky Vista's lies. The screen holds on the vigil's candles, their flames steady against the wind, as the cello soars, carrying hope and fury. But truth alone wasn't justice. Marcus's fight and ours had one more step to take. The screen fades to a quiet dawn over the Hudson River, its waters calm, reflecting the first light 2 miles from Manhattan's skyline. A single candle from the Escobar vigil flickers, its flames stubborn against the breeze. A soft piano melody begins, gentle yet piercing, carrying the weight of lessons hard-learned. The narrator's voice, tender like a grandparent's whisper, speaks. We've walked through the crash that stole Augustine, Elena, and sweet Sofia. A tragedy not just of metal, but of hearts too quick to judge. For those of us who've lived long enough to see the world's shadows, we know the real villain here wasn't just a broken valve. It was prejudice, silent as a whisper, deadly as a storm. The camera shifts to Marcus Allen, standing alone at the river's edge, his work boots scuffed from years in hangars 10 miles away. His face carries the toll of being unheard, not just that August day, But for decades, the narrator continues, voice aching. Marcus, 38, wasn't new to dismissal. Every ignored report, every smirk from a colleague, told him his skill mattered less than his skin. Yet he kept on for his son Jamal, for the families like Sophia's who trusted him to keep them safe. A memory flashes. Marcus, younger, handing a supervisor a warning, only to see it tossed aside with a shrug. That silence wasn't loud. It was a glance, a skipped email, a door shut in his face. The screen transitions to a simple graphic. A 2023 study stating 65% of Black aviation technicians report their safety concerns are dismissed more often than white colleagues. The narrator's tone firms, grounding the story. This isn't just Marcus's truth. It's a pattern etched across years, from cockpits to boardrooms. We've all seen it, maybe in a store, a hospital, or our own neighborhoods, where a voice is muted not for what it says, but for who speaks it. The camera cuts to the vigil, now grown to 1,000 feet of flowers and photos, an elderly woman clutching a sign. Listen to everyone. Her weathered hands tremble, echoing seniors' own fights for fairness. The music swells, the piano joined by a hopeful violin, as the narrator speaks directly. Prejudice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's as quiet as Linda Voss deleting Marcus's email, or James Kendrick waving him off at 6 feet tall, certain he knew better. But quiet or loud, it took a family from us. Sophia's giggles, Elena's warmth, Augustine's dreams. The camera lingers on Marcus, his eyes tracing the river where Sophia's bunny sank. This isn't new, the narrator says, voice breaking, but it's not too late to change. Every ear that opens, every heart that hears, keeps another light from fading. The screen holds on the candle, its glow steady, as the narrator whispers, "We owe them that much and more." The screen fades to a golden sunrise over New York City, the Hudson River glowing softly, 2 miles from the silent crash site. The camera pans across the Escobar Vigil, now a tapestry of flowers, candles, and handwritten notes stretching 1,000 feet along the bank. A gentle acoustic guitar strums, hopeful yet tinged with sorrow, as the narrator's voice, warm like a trusted friend, begins. We've walked through a tragedy that broke our hearts. Augustine, Elena, and little Sophia, taken too soon. For those of us who've lived long enough to know loss, their story isn't just a headline. It's a mirror, showing what happens when we stop listening to the people right in front of us. The camera zooms to a note pinned to the vigil. Hear everyone, always. The narrator's tone lifts, earnest. Marcus Allen's warning wasn't loud, but it could have saved lives. Prejudice, quiet as a glance from James Kendrick, cold as Linda Voss's deleted email, silenced him. Yet here's the lesson, one we seniors know deep in our bones. Listening isn't just kindness, it's a lifeline. The scene shifts to a diverse crowd at Union Square. 4 miles away, elders, parents, kids, holding hands, their faces resolute. Every ear we open, every voice we lift, builds a world where no family pays the price the Escobars did. The music swells, the guitar joined by a soaring violin, as the narrator speaks directly. You've watched this story, felt its weight. Now let's carry it forward. In your neighborhood, your church, your life. Hear the ones others ignore. Share Sophia's smile, Marcus's courage, with someone today. The camera catches an elderly man nodding at the vigil, his eyes bright with purpose. And tell us, what's a time you saw someone overlooked? Drop it in the comments. Let's start listening. Together. The screen lingers on the sunrise, its light spreading as the narrator whispers, "For them, for us, let's make it right." The screen fades to a serene dusk over the Hudson River, its waters calm, reflecting the fading light 2 miles from Manhattan's skyline. The camera pans to Marcus Allen, standing alone at the Escobar Vigil, now a quiet shrine of candles and flowers stretching 500 feet along the bank. A lone violin plays, soft and mournful, carrying the weight of memory. The narrator's voice, gentle as a lullaby, begins. Here where Augustine, Elena, and little Sophia left us, Marcus Allen carries their story. For us seniors, who know life's joys and sorrows, This moment isn't just an end, it's a beginning. Marcus kneels, placing a single white rose among the tributes, his face etched with resolve. The narrator's tone softens. He tried to save them with a warning no one heard. But Marcus teaches us what we've learned over decades. One voice, no matter how small, can change everything. The camera zooms to his hand, weathered from years in hangars, then to his eyes, steady with purpose. He whispers, "I wish they'd listened for Sophia." The narrator's voice breaks. "That wish is our lesson. Listen, truly listen, before a light goes out forever." The music lifts, the violins soaring with hope, as the screen shows the vigils glow against the twilight. The narrator speaks directly. "Take this home, to your families, your neighbors. Hear the unheard, like Marcus did. Share this story, hit like, subscribe. Let Sophia's smile live on." The camera pulls back, revealing a new sign. "For the Escobars, listen always." The narrator closes, firm. "Let's make their loss mean something. Start today." The screen fades to black with text, "In memory of every silenced voice."